Hello, welcome to Retired Farm Boy channel. I'm out here in my shop again. I'm turned a little bit. I'm sitting on my lawnmower. It's got a very comfortable seat on it. It's the main reason I'm sitting on it. I'm not mowing or anything. Hadn't done a lot of mowing in the last month or so, just a couple times probably, because it's been so hot and dry here. But another hot day in Middle Tennessee, so I'm retreating back into my shop here and trying to do a video from there. So my last video that I did was on reasons that I have had people tell me of why they haven't retired yet. Well, today's video, I wanted to do something a little bit forward thinking on that. Things that you will learn early on in retirement. Now, these are bullet points that I want to go over. There's 5 or 6 of them that I want to go over. There's a couple though that are what I call no doubters. I think you're definitely going to feel that those are definitely something you're going to learn. You probably will not learn it though until you get into retirement. So let's start down the list and see where we go from there. So the first one is that you will adjust to retirement just like you did in comparison to maybe changing to a new job or moving to another house, to another neighborhood, another state, whatever the case may be. When you did those things, moving a job or a move, you had some anxieties about it. You're going to have those same anxieties when you get into retirement. You're going to, wonder what to do with yourself. And on some days, those first few days, you're going to feel, wow, this is wonderful and everything else. And after a while, you're going to get to a point of like, okay, now what am I going to do? So you're going to have those days when you get into retirement. You're going to have some unknowns that will hit you as well, just like when you change jobs. You don't know how people will adjust to you, how you're going to fit in. Retirement is similar in that respect. There's going to be some things that you didn't expect for retirement to be like for you. For me, I think when I was thinking about retiring, I got in there and I didn't realize, how busy I could be, in retirement. Not thinking that I had a whole lot to do. It was going to be so nice just to do nothing, but I ended up having a lot to do. So there's some unknowns that you'll run across as well in your retirement. Hopefully you won't have to work too hard though, that's for sure. And obviously the biggest one along these lines is like, did I make the right decision? That's one that's going to take you a little while to get over. I know for me, it took a few months. Now I have a little farm, so I had a sheep herd at the time. So I had plenty to keep me busy, to occupy my mind a little bit. But I have to admit, I sat around a lot and thought, man, should I have stayed for a little bit longer? Should I have maybe tried to do a consulting job? Should I go do a consulting job? Because I was getting all kinds of job opportunities sent to me, and I was determined to not work. Once I retired, my mindset was, I'm not going to work again. Work for somebody, I should say. I was going to work for myself. So you're going to have that as well, that decision. Now, hopefully you've thought about some of those kind of things that I'm speaking to right now before you retire. But there's some that you're still going to be sitting there some days and just trying to make sure, boy, did I screw up here or not? But hang with me. You didn't screw up. So the next one I want to talk about is your spending habits are going to change. Now I can't really put my finger on why I believe so firmly in this one. I can list a couple things off, like you won't spend as much money on gas because you're not going to be driving as much, which means you're not going to be doing as much maintenance on your vehicles, which is going to save you money, which means that your vehicles are going to last longer, which is a good thing because in retirement, that's a big expense that you might have to come out with. So those are some of the ones that you can, tangible, that you can put your hands on. You won't be buying clothes if you're in an office environment. You won't have to worry about that quite as much. You probably won't be going out and eating out as much. I know I worked with some guys. I didn't necessarily do this because I was too frugal, I guess. But I worked with some guys who every day went out to a restaurant to eat lunch. And, they spend $10, $15 every day on lunch. So you won't be doing that anymore. You'll be fixing some meals at home a little bit more, which is going to save you money, doing it that way than going out anyway. But the thing that I couldn't really put my finger on with this one, and I think my messaging on this is going to be this answer. I think when you are working, you're trying to save money for retirement. So you're saving through the years. And you accumulate that money, and for the most part, you're not touching it. You're leaving it alone. If you're fortunate enough, you don't mess with it. You leave it alone. You let it grow. And then when you get into retirement, that's what you start living on to some extent. I think that's the reason that I think your spending habits change, because people, I think, are naturally frugal. I know I'm very frugal, and probably got a little more frugal once I retired, but I think that's the reason that your spending habits change. I just think that, that mindset that's changed differently for you is one that you'll consider and might go along with this. Now, I told you there was a couple of no doubters, and the first one I want to bring up is you wish you would have retired sooner. Now, I guarantee that this is one thing that you're going to think as for a little after you get into retirement for a while. May take you a little bit, because like I said, you got to get over that initial anxiety, those unknowns, trying to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. But eventually you're going to say, man, I wish I would have done this sooner. I don't know that I've talked to anyone in retirement that we've talked about this specific question that have said, no, I wish I would have kept working. I don't know of a single soul that said that. The ability that you get to relax, the stress just is pretty much gone. You might have a little stress, but it's really the stress you have in retirement is what you bring home to yourself for the most part. I know for me it is. So that's one of those that you're going to, okay, I can tell you right now, and the reason I say retirement is the best job you'll ever have, you're going to believe in this one in just a few months shortly after you retire. The second no-brainer is one that you might not consider as much when you're going into retirement, but you'll realize it pretty quickly, especially once you start having some health issues. You will discover that health is the true wealth. Money's of something, of course, that we always think about. Do we have enough money? Do we have enough of this or that? Do we have enough toys? But health is really what makes a big difference. Health gives you time. And time is what we want more than anything in retirement, is the time to do the things that we want to do for a change instead of doing what somebody else is telling us to do. So health is a big thing. Now, I can use myself as an example here of how it can change for you, but you need to always stay positive. The only times that I've been in the hospital was when I was 5 or 6 years old. I had my tonsils taken out, so I was in there for a day or two, I guess. I don't really remember it much. And then in June of this year, towards the end of last year, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Had no idea there's anything wrong with me. I consider myself fairly healthy. I'm not near as healthy as I used to be years ago, but I'm active. I try to go to the gym and work out and everything, but this cancer thing, the big C word, hit me, and it hit me hard. And so in June, I had my prostate taken out. Now I'm doing well. It's not a pity party here by any means. I'm doing fine. In fact, I think I'm doing a little bit better than maybe the doctors think I should be at this point. I'm back to doing anything that I want to do. I'm going back to the gym, whole 9 yards. But it is a wake-up call. And it does make you really ponder, what's really important in life. And time is what's important. And the way you can have that time is you keep yourself in a good, healthy state. So please go out and continue to do your physicals, continue to exercise, get into exercising if you're not, and take care of yourself. So that's another no-doubter about retirement. You will not be bored or in retirement. You won't get bored. You're going to have plenty to do. Now, at first, you may sit around some days and, before people find out that you're retired, you may have some days where you're bored a little bit and that kind of thing. It happens from time to time. But you'll learn to turn those bored days into relaxing days. Maybe you can do something you want to do, or maybe you don't want to do anything. There's nothing wrong with that in retirement. During our working time, we're not expected to sit around. We're expected to be working, for the most part. You work every day. And so it's so different to have that time to just sit and relax. Like I mentioned earlier, the stress. You don't have that stress anymore. It's so nice to be able to not deal with that. But I'm telling you, you will not get bored, because sooner or later, you're going to start taking those grandkids places. You're going to start doing things for your kids. You're going to start joining some clubs, maybe getting into exercising, like I mentioned, maybe getting into some hobbies. I picked up golf. I never played golf over 8 or 10 times in my life until this year. And this year I had to quit for a couple months during my surgery, but I've already played double at least what I've played in my life this year. In fact, I'm going to play Wednesday. So you'll get into doing things like that you didn't think of. I know for us, we spend a lot of time with our grandkids, doing different things for them, carrying them places. I go to the gym 3 days a week, so I carry my 2 grandsons that live closest to me to their school every day. Not every day, but on those days that I go to the gym. So you really enjoy that, and it means a whole lot more to you. But I guarantee you will not get bored. There'll be plenty to do. Even with less money in retirement than you thought you're going to need, I think you're going to determine you're going to be okay. We all have our own resources, right, of what we save going into retirement. Just like when we were working, we had an income, and we knew what that income was, and we lived within our means. And that's basically the same thing that you'll do in retirement. You'll just learn to live within your means, have your retirement. We're all the same. Anytime you fill out an application that asks you what your job is, we all put retired in there. We're all the same. The only difference we have is what resources we've continued to save. But just like during our work life, we've determined how to deal with what resources we have. You'll do the same thing in retirement. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to link my prior video to this one in case you missed that one. Hopefully you'll be able to go back and watch that, and it'll sort of, you can see how these two relate to each other. But until next time, like I've said, don't let the old man in. Bye.